Let's maul in the Central Committee. Let's cringe in the Central Committee. Let's bog in the Central Committee right now.
I wanted to start off with the biggest, of course, of the day. So for the entire Democratic primary, I highlighted this story where Joe Biden over and over and over again said when he won the election that there would be an epiphany among Republicans and that a bunch of, 10 of them would come and work with him. And it's kind of an amazing little thing that just happened. Biden once asserted Republicans would have an epiphany. Now he admits he doesn't understand them.
President, what'd you get?
Tacos and some enchiladas.
Mr. President, do you have any comments on the efforts to oust Liz Cheney from the House Republican leadership post?
I don't understand the Republicans.
There you go. That's our president right there. That's our president. America's taco-eating grandpa. Joe Biden was speaking in a bar in a sparse campaign crowd in Iowa when he offered the prediction. If we defeat Trump, he said to that summer day in 2019, you're going to see, as we say in southern Delaware, an altar call. You're going to see people all of a sudden see the Lord. My God, how did this fucking guy win the primary? Holy shit. That's a rhetorical question. We know. The Republican Party, Biden suggested, would no longer be beholden to one man. Its leaders would not be intimidated by the former president's blowback. Politics would return to a world where the two parties could argue fiercely without vitriolic personal attacks or the embrace of falsehoods. But on Wednesday, in the fourth month of his own presidency, Biden offered a more flummoxed, less confident assessment. I don't understand the Republicans. Now, chat, I want you to imagine you have been in politics for 5 decades, and you could get something so fundamentally wrong about the other side that less than 6 months into your first term, your only response is, I just don't understand them. Now, 2 things here. Clearly, Biden was lying. But why was he lying when he said this shit? Why was he lying? Are Democratic voters this cucked and this pathetic that they want to work with Republicans? I don't actually think that's true. I think that they are taught by the mainstream media to believe their pundit assessments and go along with what the pundits on TV are saying is the smart thing. And, it makes sense. It's not like they're offering it's the pundit argument versus nothing. They're not bringing up the progressive argument or something. That's just quietly shut into the fucking corner, right? So what's going on here? Biden's political calling card for decades has been that he is one Democrat who does understand the Republicans. That ostensible familiarity caused his campaign headaches during the primary campaign. Other Democrats ridiculed Republicans, but Biden went out of his way to call GOP leaders good and decent. With Trump, he offered a qualifier. He's probably a decent guy. Biden promoted the deals he'd cut with Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky. He talked up his ability to understand the motives of a late Senator Jesse Helms, a figure loathed by many Democrats, a figure loathed by history. Jesse Helms, chat, if you don't know who this is, we've done Jesse Helms talks before on the stream. Jesse Helms was famous as the guy who switched the segregationists from the Democratic Party, the Dixiecrats, to the Republican Party. He was the most stridently conservative politician of the post-60s era, especially in opposition to federal intervention in what he considered state affairs, including legislating integration via the Civil Rights Act and enforcing suffrage through the Voting Rights Act. And he was in office until 2000. 1,003. The biggest demon in the entire Senate. His explicit campaign message was that Trump did not represent who we are as a country, and the implicit corollary was that Republicans' behavior under Trump did not reflect who they are. Rhetoric or obliviousness. Ah, man, really tough. Really tough. We can't change, we're in trouble, he added. This nation cannot function without generating consensus. It can't do it. Biden now faces a basic question. What if he was wrong about the Republican Party? What if he has, in fact, changed in more fundamental ways than he contemplated? If he has, what does that mean for his presidency? Biden has watched as post-Trump Republicans, far from reverting to their previous identity, have instead embraced the ex-president with increased fervor. Now, chat, I'm going to do that thing where I pat myself on the back, but I've been saying this for years. Literal years, that Donald Trump, far being from a fluke or some sort of weird quirk of history, is fundamentally who the grassroots Republicans are. You know how I know? Actually talking to Republican people. Ew. And not only do they love Trump, Republican leaders are punishing those who reject the falsehood that Trump won the election, journeying regularly to his home at Mar-a-Lago and preparing to oust Representative Liz Cheney, the third-ranking House Republican, for declining to say that Trump won. And here's the thing that makes me think we are doomed. You want to hear my biggest black pill? You know what my biggest black pill moment is about all this? The media. And the Democrats, far from saying, hey, you know, this happened with Jeb Bush. This happened with Marco Rubio. This happened with Ted Cruz. This happened with Sanford. This happened with Charlie Dent. This happened with Paul Ryan. Instead of them waking the fuck up and realizing that there's been a parade of establishment anti-Trump Republicans that have either been tamed or utterly thrown out of politics by Trump, instead of the media going, this is who the Republican Party is, they are now trying to elevate Liz Cheney, Paul, Raffensperger, the stupid guy from Illinois, every single fucking idiot Republican. Now, all the famous ones that stood up to Trump are gone. They're just elevating backbenchers and making them super PAC fundraising champions, not from Republicans, but from libs. And it's the same. They're not doubling down. They're not tripling down. They're not quadrupling down. They're sextupling down. The idea of elevate the anti-Trump Republican into some sort of media figure has been tried 80 fucking times. You know what hasn't been tried? A robust Democratic Party that rejects the Republicans and tries to rule for the constituents and for the promises they made. Republicans say it is Biden who is refusing to act in a bipartisan manner, accusing him of hypocrisy after a campaign that promised conciliation. 3 months in, the decisions of the president and his party are pulling us further and further apart, Senator Tim Scott said in a GOP response to Biden's recent speech to Congress. It doesn't matter what Biden does. It doesn't matter what Biden says. That's what's gonna happen. And Joe Biden made it easy for them to do that. Joe Biden made it simple for them to do that. And how do we know? Because when you say, I'm going to work with the other side, I'm going to compromise, you put the ball entirely in their court. You put the ball entirely in their court. And they could say, he didn't compromise with us. He's breaking his promise. No matter what you do. As the disconnect has persisted, Biden's predictions have grown more dire. I have no idea if there will be a Republican Party. Do you? Biden responded a few weeks ago when asked whether if he ran in 2024, it would be against Trump. This is mind-bogglingly stupid to the level of delusion. I think Joe Biden, this is amendment, 25th Amendment actionable of a statement. This is like the president saying, I'm not sure the sky will be blue in 2024. Do you? He barely won. Not only will there be a Republican Party in 2024, it almost certainly will be control of the House, and it may very well be in control of the Senate. Republican Party not exist. They're going to be running the fucking country. Do you think he understands Republicans but doesn't want to say what he knows, so he doesn't elect him the way the basket of deplorables affected Hillary? Okay. He doesn't have to say Republican voters. He has to say Republican politicians, because even Republican voters don't identify with Republican politicians, and the Republican Party is extremely unpopular. This is from February. The favorable rating of the Republican Party is 37%. Who the fuck are you worried about alienating? They've got 63% of the country that either is neutral or doesn't like the Republicans. Amazingly, Democrat approval of the Republican Party increased to 10%. Pathetic. The fever didn't break. Although McConnell didn't make Obama a one-term president. Here's the thing. Oh, God. I just think there is a way. The thing that will fundamentally change is when Donald Trump is out of the White House. Not a joke. You will see an epiphany occur among many of my Republican friends, he said, and it's already beginning. In the House now, you've seen people that are in fact not willing to vote for any Democratic initiative, even if they agreed with it, because they didn't want to be the odd person out if it wasn't going to pass. There is no sense in getting politically beaten for something that isn't going to happen, but you're seeing the talk, even if the dialogue is changing. It's hard to reconcile Biden's stated optimism with what Democrats have seen on the ground in Washington in recent years. After all, it's not as though there has been broad bipartisan comedy before Trump's ascension to the party, something that Barack Obama's vice president should certainly know. After Obama was inaugurated in 2009, Republican leaders in Washington made an explicit effort to block his agenda, with then House Minority Leader John A. Boehner promising that his party would do everything, and I mean everything we could do, to kill it, stop it, slow it down, whatever we can. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell famously announced that the single most important thing we want to achieve is for President Obama to be a one-term president. Still, Obama made a prediction similar to Biden's ahead of the 2012 election. I believe that if we are successful in this election, when we're successful in the election, the fever may break, he said of Republican obstinance, because there's a tradition in the Republican Party of more common sense than that. The fever didn't break. Though McConnell didn't make Obama one-term president, he was successful at stymieing Democratic legislation during his presidency. McConnell allowed a government shutdown in 2013 in an effort to defund Obama's Affordable Care Act and blocked numerous judicial appointments, including Obama's last Supreme Court nominee. McConnell effectively held the seat open until after the 2016 election, allowing Trump to appoint his first justice after taking office and to fill 112 other federal bench seats. His rhetoric now has an almost bless their hearts tone of saying of Biden, professing to speak more in sorrow than anger. He claims to not quite understand a party that restricts voting or challenges science, one that won't rid itself of Trump or stand by Cheney. The president said this week that while his own party has engaged in plenty of internal fights, it doesn't compare to the Republican warfare. I don't ever remember any like this. The current GOP is certainly not the party Biden used to know. It's not the party that nominated John McCain and Mitt Romney for president. Yeah, they were tired of losing, so they started appealing to their base. Obama was effectively a one-term president. Obama was a half-term president. You can put on your hand the number of significant things Barack Obama did. He was a loser. He was a footnote. In history, he'll go down right next to Willard Fillmore. Biden's history of predicting that Republicans will come around after the next election, the next soul searching, the next reality check is a long one. We need the leaders that can control their party, he said, and I think we're going to see the fever break. There's a dozen Republican senators, and I think I can name you 3 dozen Republican House members who, once this election is over, they kind of get a get-out-of-jail-free card. Biden added, they're going to start saying, hey, man, I no longer have an obligation to stick with the right of my party. That, most would agree, did not happen. 2 years later, in 2014, Biden predicted the Democrats would keep the Senate majority, which they did not, and things would change. What's going to happen is it's going to break the back of the hard right, and you're going to see reasonably people in the Republican Party start to vote reasonably again, he forecast. 2014, Chad, in case you're wondering, was the lowest turnout for Democratic voters in American history. That, not only did the Democrats lose with this strategy, they got shellacked. And that was coming off the 2010, which was the worst ever election for Democrats. So they followed up 2010, the worst ever election for the Democrats, with 2014, the lowest turnout ever. That was Barack Obama's legacy. He was a loser. What's going to happen is it's going to break the back of the hard right, and you're going to see reasonable people in the Republican Party start to vote reasonably again, he forecast. That shift, too, didn't happen. And the current lack of a Republican epiphany? Well, I've only been here 6 weeks, pal, okay? Give me a break, Biden said with a laugh. Biden then amended his prediction, saying the epiphany would occur sometimes between now and 2022. Hey, chat, when's the epiphany happening? Biden's optimism is all the more striking since Republicans have rarely given him an opening, perhaps most especially not now. 100% of our focus is on stopping this new administration, McConnell said on Wednesday, adding that Biden and the Democrats want to turn America into a socialist country, and that's 100% of my focus. That was reminiscent of McConnell's comment in 2010 that the single most important thing we want to achieve is for President Obama to be a one-term president. Now, chat, I'm gonna do what's known as a mic drop here in a second. Who did Liz Cheney say is the real leader of the Republican Party? Not Trump. Who did Liz Cheney say is the real leader of the Republican Party? Not Trump. Liz Cheney, the person currently being praised on MSDNC, said the real leader of the Republican Party is Mitch McConnell. And what is McConnell saying right now? 100% of my focus is on stopping this new administration. There are 0 reasonable Republicans. And every time we waste our breath. So this simultaneously, what's happening here, what I'm showing to you, is for those of us who follow politics and listen to what is said, we know the Republicans are not hiding the ball. They're not even acting in bad faith. They're saying, we are going to stop you by any means necessary. I actually think that's refreshing. That's awesome for a politician to do. Politicians saying, hey, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not using weasel words. I'm not hiding the ball. I'm going to fuck you up. Everybody knows where they stand. Everybody gets it. It's the Democrats that are actually disgusting, because they turn around to the people that trust them and lie and say the fever will break. That's a fucking bald-faced lie. Mitch McConnell is telling the truth. I'm going to block these damn goddamn socialists by any means necessary. Joe Biden says they're going to work with me. He's the fucking liar. And so all of us who watch politics see this, see Biden trying to gaslight us, and we just, our passion, our energy, our belief collapses. Our optimism flattened. Our interest in fighting for these people, 0. Joe Biden disarms us, bends over, and claims that he's fighting, claims that he's working. And the thing is, Joe Biden's a rich, white fuckface. None of this matters. Republicans win, it doesn't affect him. Tell that to the tens of thousands of families being deported with legitimate refugee claims at the border. Tell that to the millions of people that are going to be facing our criminal justice system packed with right-wing extremists. Tell that to our fucking climate and our planet. Tell that to the millions of people facing eviction. I'm going to work with Republicans. That is the most insulting lie that I've ever heard. What's more despicable, your enemy or a traitor? A traitor. A traitor and a coward. That was reminiscent of McConnell's comment in 2010 that the single most important thing we want to achieve is for President Obama to be a one-term president. Such statements have not deterred Biden. Look, he said in our last administration with Barack, he was going to stop everything, Biden said on Wednesday, and I was able to get a lot done with him. You know what they got done? The 2013 Biden-McConnell fiscal cliff deal shows why the new president needs a new approach to taxes. Presidential candidate and former Vice President Joe Biden freely touts his ability to work with Republicans on taxes on other issues. In a Democratic presidential debate in June, Biden cited the tax deal he negotiated with Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell at the end of 2012 and the start of 2013. But other candidates have criticized Biden's approach. To take just one example, Senator Michael Bennet slammed the 2013 tax law that Biden negotiated with McConnell, saying that deal extended almost all of the Bush tax cuts permanently. What a winner. The Bush tax cuts were scheduled to expire by law at the end of 2012. President Obama and some lawmakers believed that allowing that to happen might hurt the economy, a scenario some people described as going off the fiscal cliff. So they faced what they believed to be a deadline to extend at least some tax cuts by the start of 2013. This is not unique to Biden. The fiscal cliff agreement is a long pattern of lawmakers from both parties cutting taxes and keeping them low, one that has spanned 20 years. In another report, we conclude that from 2001 through 2018, the Bush, Obama, and Trump administrations cut tax revenue by more than $5 trillion, with nearly 2/3 of that flowing to the richest fifth of Americans. How do we have so much income inequality? What Biden left unmentioned was how many things McConnell helped block, including gun control in 2013 and a Supreme Court nomination in 2016. But a new tone of doubt has crept into Biden's assertion about the Republicans' path. It seems as though the Republican Party is trying to identify what it stands for, he said on Wednesday, and they're in the middle of a significant sort of mini revolution going on in the Republican Party. And you know what that is? Donald Trump. The cult of Donald Trump is what they stand for. It's obvious and has been for fucking 5 years. The revolution is hauling out guillotines and cutting off the heads of anybody who says you won the election, you fucking cuck. That's who's being executed in the revolution. Anybody who says you won. He added, we badly need a Republican Party. We need a two-party system. It's not healthy to have a one-party system. And I think the Republicans are further away from trying to figure out who they are, what they stand for, than I thought they would be at this point. This is liberals in a nutshell. I want you to read this statement and all the bile and hate that you have, I want you to put on Joe Biden, because this is so contemptible that it barely this being uttered by a living, breathing human being, let alone the president and leader of a political party, is so vile and so stupid that I can't think of anything dumber. Noam Chomsky got it right. He said that the Republican Party is the most dangerous organization on the planet and the closest to annihilation of organized human civilization. This is poli-sci babble. If one of the parties was the Nazi party, do we need a two-party system? Or maybe should they be defeated until they're out of power completely? You stupid fuck. Also, I want to point one other thing out. This is why I hate these centrists, and I really fucking hate them, is for the system to work, both sides have to try to win. That's the adversarial system that we have. This is like a lawyer going to court and telling his client, it wouldn't be fair for me to argue the case too strongly for you. I need to present their side as well. We need an adversarial justice system. For the adversarial justice system to work, you have to zealously represent your side, not the other side. They've got their fucking lawyer. You're supposed to be our lawyer, you stupid fuckface. You dipshit, you moron. They have all their lobbyists. They have the corporate money. They've got their politicians. You represent this side. They represent this side. And then we We hash it out. You don't walk in there gargling their fucking side. Otherwise, that precious two-party, multi-party system you love so much, you dumbass lib, doesn't work. Pathetic fucking loser. If you don't hate Joe Biden, you are an idiot. Joe Biden is more hateable than Mitch McConnell. I wish we had a Mitch McConnell on our side. Just one. Just one person on our side who actually fought to win. Just one. Just one. They don't exist. Every single one of them is a capitulating compromiser. How many times did Trump say we need a strong Democratic Party? He says the Democratic Party is trying to destroy the country. Stefanik, this is a woman who's probably going to replace Liz Cheney. Stefanik emphasizes support for false election claims, Trump movement ahead of leadership vote. Rep. Elise Stefanik on Thursday emphasized her support for former President Donald Trump's false claims that the 2020 election was stolen through voter fraud as she seeks to lock down support to replace Liz Cheney as the third-ranking House Republican. Stefanik appeared Thursday morning on the podcast of former Trump campaign and White House aide Stephen K. Bannon, where she sought to make the case that she is a reliable supporter of Trump and devoted to his brand of nationalist populism, distancing herself from her old ties to the old establishment wing of the party and her moderate voting record in Congress. I fully support the audit in Arizona, she said. We want transparencies and answers for the American people. What are the Democrats so afraid of? The GOP-held state Senate in Arizona is reviewing the 2.1 million ballots cast in Maricopa County in an effort to prove election malfeasance, though previous audits in the state have found no wrongdoing. The largely partisan exercise has enraged Democrats who see it as one more attempt to undercut faith in the... What are you talking about? Joe Biden's out there saying he doesn't know what the GOP... He doesn't know what the they haven't figured it out yet. Oh, the GOP is still... Oh, there's a revolution happening. Diluted. We need to fix these election security issues going in the future, she said, and it's not just Arizona. During her interview, Stefanik echoed many of the GOP talking points about alleged election fraud, claiming that in many cases, there was no signature verification process. She also said she heard from voters in her district who did not receive their mail-in ballot when they applied for one, and I even heard from voters who received the wrong mail-in ballots. There is no evidence that any irregularities in mail-in ballots would have changed the result in the election of any state, including New York, where Joe Biden beat Trump 60-37. Stefanik, first elected in 2014, was viewed as one of the more moderate House Republicans, and she kept her distance from Trump early in his presidency. She was the co-chair of the moderate GOP Tuesday group with then-Rep. Charlie Dent, and backed former Ohio Governor John Kasich for president in 2016. Hey, chat, remember that Charlie Dent I mentioned earlier? Where is he now? Working for a lobbying firm in Philadelphia. The guy is out. And he spends most of his time lobbying Democrats. With Trump in the White House, Stefanik voted against some of his policy proposals, including the 2017 tax cuts, because she said the limits on local and state tax deductions would hurt her constituents. But she emerged as a strong ally during his first impeachment trial in 2019, serving as leading defender of his actions toward Ukraine, which were the subject of Democrats' attempt to remove the president from office. Since that time, she worked to present herself as a strong Trump supporter and spoke at the 2020 Republican convention. She has backed Trump's false claims about the election since he first started making them after his defeat to Biden. It's that record she is highlighting now as a contrast to Cheney, who expects to lose her job for arguing that backing the president's falsehoods amounts to an attack on democracy. In an opinion piece published in the Albany Times-Union on morning of January 6, when Congress met to certify the election results, she made several arguments supported by Trump, but without evidence to justify her plan to contest the election results in several states. With regard to Georgia, Stefanik claimed that more than 140,000 votes came from underage, deceased, and otherwise unauthorized voters in Fulton County alone. This is totally made up. 525,000 votes were cast in the presidential election in Atlanta-based Fulton County. So if that were to be true, it would mean that more than 1 in 4 ballots there were illegal. There is no evidence of anything close to that. On Thursday, Stefanak's office defended the opinion piece. The number came from litigation that was ongoing at the time. To this day, there are still serious concerns about the election that have not been addressed. The number was cited in an emergency appeal to Georgia Supreme Court, which denied it. The appeal referred to about 141,000 suspect votes in all of Georgia, not just Fulton County. Harvard University, Stefanak's alma mater, removed her from an advisory board position at the Institute of Politics in January because her public assertions about voter fraud in November's presidential election have no basis in evidence. She told Bannon that her removal was, quote, part of cancel culture. While Stefanik is the favorite to replace Chase, she has the support of Trump and House Republican leaders. Her moderate record has raised concerns for some conservative member. She voted against funding the border wall. She actually voted to condemn President Trump for the Affordable Care Act litigation strategy last year. These are all things that I think indicate someone who is not in step with the general views of the Republican conference. She's not right-wing enough. For the MAGA movement, look at the journey of Elise Stefanik. This is what's important. He said, you're now getting the highest quality Ivy League educated people who start off in the heart of the establishment. That because of the reality of where America is, and you have to turn America around with working class people. He said, you've got to look at the journey. Hey, remember how they hate the elite? I thought they hated the elite. I thought they hate those Harvard-educated pencil necks. Why am I malding about this so much? Because, chat, this country is on the verge of permanent minority rule. And the Democrats are still floating around in pure delusion mode. And I don't know how to make them grow the fuck up. I don't know how to make it change. I tried. We do politics here every morning starting at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. You can watch us here on Twitch. We're the morning guy. The morning politics guy. Politics Frogs in every single day, same time, 10 a.m., day in, day out, and we carry you through your morning and early afternoon politics needs. And if you need more, Mike from PA, we have a YouTube channel. We talked about suburbs, the My Pillow guy, Ted Cruz. We talked about DSA. Amazing. Making fun of Tim Pool. Amazing. Look at all of these amazing videos. Get in there, watch them. We have me on Twitter. You got to follow me on Twitter, chat. I'm at 20,614 subs. That means I got like 40 followers on Twitter in the last day. You can do better than that. You can do better than that. Go follow us on Twitter. And of course, join the Discord, where we have an incredible community of left-wing streamers. We have left-wing community. We talk about the stream. We talk about politics. There's gaming content. It's a really awesome, supportive place. Direct action, mutual aid, and you can just let off some steam. And also, you can help produce the show. One of the things I do is I look at the links that are put into the news content suggestions chat room on the Discord. Join the Discord. Come hang out. And maybe what you want me to talk about will be part of the next show.